Welcome back to the Boujee Boss Up Podcast, where we are redefining luxury for women ready to ditch the hard life and step into their soft states of being. You guys, I'm so excited. We finally have reached the season finale. I can't believe it. It feels like it's so fulfilling. To have reached this point. I'm super excited. As you can see from the title, we're definitely getting into something controversial today. What's new? But I mean, especially with like what we stand for. I felt like it was pivotal to talk about this. But overall, I'm just so excited about the season, what we've been able to do, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, let's just go right ahead, get into the Boujee Bite. Okay, so yesterday was International Women's Day on the 8th, and then, of course, March is International Women's Month. And so I figured I would talk about a few women that inspired me. So, of course, my mom, and I'm coming at this from, like, my personal life, like, not just, like, public figures and such. I know I've spoken throughout the season about public figures and that I'm inspired by, that I follow, but I wanted to make this one very personal. So of course my mother, shout out to you, Christy, like that's my mama. That's, the one that birthed me, the one that raised me, along with my dad, but it's not Men's Month. So shout out to you. Shout out to my grandmother's Mudir, who is my mom's mom, and my grandmother, may she rest in peace. My dad's mother, we lost her a couple years ago, but her impact, has been profound in my life. Those three in particular, they inspire me for so many reasons, but they're also, all three, ironically, are breast cancer survivors. So definitely shout out to all three of them. It's not Breast Cancer Awareness Month, is actually in October, but it's never, there's never one right month to honor that, and to honor the strength there. Ironically enough, I think around this time, I think it was maybe around the end of February, beginning of March, like when my mom actually got diagnosed. And I want to say, I'm trying to remember, because my paternal grandmother, she had it twice, beat it twice, and all of them have beat it, and so I'm very proud of them to like watch all of them go through that, especially my mom, like up close and personal, seeing that day in and day out. It's so admirable, and just like how they've encouraged me through the years, like from my childhood, my formative years. Those sorts of things are important. Obviously, I was talking a lot in the last episode just about how important as a child it is to have adults around you that speak life into you, and are concerned and care about like your wellness all around. And so I'm fortunate to have had women in my life who do that. Also, special shout out to my aunt Shakira, my dad's younger sister, who's like a second mom to me. She's my twin, right? And of course my other aunt, who I have a gazillion aunts, honestly. Both my family is huge on both sides, but these are the two aunts that I was around the most coming up, because we all lived, in my hometown, Columbia. And so shout out to Brittany, who's more like my sister aunt, because she's only 6 years older than me. Well, I hung out, followed behind her a lot, like especially in like my teens and like early 20s and stuff. So shout out to you guys. And of course, my little sister Danielle, who, she is a young woman. She's 16. And, she doesn't like me 90% of the time, but yeah, shout out to her, because she's so sassy, and I think it's so fucking hilarious, to be honest. So yeah, there's so many other women in my life that I could shout out, but like I just figured I'd like more so keep it to like immediate family. So yeah, shout out to you guys. And while we're on the topic just about like International Women's Month, I know a lot of times, obviously, there's going to be a lot of content in the media around women and equality and all that stuff. And it's, super important, and, as it should, we deserve to be celebrated and acknowledged and all that. But for one, that should be a year-round thing, of course. But also, I find that, a lot of times we end up taking on these like acts of, trying to like feeling obligated to like advocate more so in times like this. And it's just like, you deserve to celebrate your existence, your resilience, all of the amazing things that you do and you are as a woman. You deserve to celebrate all of that without having to play savior, without having to be an advocate, an activist, because, that takes a toll. If you feel called to do those things, of course, just by natural default, most of us women, we're put in positions where we have to advocate for ourselves, but don't feel obligated to do that. Like, don't feel obligated to be the spokesperson, in regards to other men in the workplace, anywhere, you know what I mean? You have the right to celebrate your existence as it is without having to explain, without having to save or anything of that sort. So I hope that, especially in this month, that you guys, all women, all practice that. And in regards to just how to celebrate, of course, all around pursuing luxury. And that looks different for every person. I mean, and it's a great tie into today's topic, even whether that's the cliche bubble bath, whether that's sleeping for foodies out there, my fellow foodies, splurging on something that a food you rarely treat yourself to, binging a show you've been putting off, signing up for therapy, literally whatever that looks like for you. I hope that you treat yourself to something extra special this month, that may be out of the norm, or that you just may not get to do as often as you'd like. So yeah, happy International Women's Month. I am super excited to be celebrating myself and all of the other beautiful women. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into some Boujee Business. Shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Her Timeless Brand, which is the creative agency where strategy meets modern design. It is run by none other than our very own Chief Creative Officer, Erica Ortiz, who serves as the lead rebrand strategist and designer. Her Timeless Brand is designed for women of faith who want to increase their brand's visual value and give their audience the luxury experience they deserve. Signature offers include the Essentials package, which includes brand strategy, brand identity, mini social kit, and a customized 2-page website, as well as the Brand Refine Her package, which includes brand strategy, a photo shoot mood board, brand identity, 15 pieces of marketing material, and a customized 5-page website. Just an FYI, y'all, that Her Timeless Brand is behind the lovely logos, fonts, and social media aesthetic for Boujee Boss Media, so you already know it's top tier, okay? You can visit hertimelessbrand.com to learn more. Thanks again to Erica and the HTB team for sponsoring this episode. Now let's dive right back in. All right, so let's get into this, guys. So, listen, this is talking about Black girl luxury, the movement. This is such a layered topic. There's no way that I could encapsulate the entire conversation around luxury and Black girl luxury, to be specific, in one, episode. And so with that in mind, I wanted to, in the upfront, provide some context of the perspectives that we're going to be coming from. Because I feel like, I did a lot of research, watched a lot of videos. All of those videos will be shared below. And I felt like some of the perspectives, they kind of just shared their perspectives they shared them from a very specific point of view, and shared very specific critiques or whatever you want to call it. But they didn't not all provided definitions of how they define luxury. And I feel like that's important to start off with when, we're entering discussions like these, because it shifts, it provides context on the entire perspective as a whole. And so, first I want to share our definition of luxury here at Boujee Boss Media, and also identify the sectors of luxury that we're going to be addressing in the episode. So of course, the commonly known, perspective, or concept in people's minds, around the physical, materialistic, superficial realm, and then also from a mental point of view, and also just the full embodiment as a whole. And so yeah, and before I share our definition, I also want to say, I knew that this was something that I wanted to discuss. I'm not gonna lie, I was, pretty hesitant about it because I know that the very existence of my brand triggers a lot of people and not always in a good way. Which is, unnerving because it's like this brand means a lot to me. But I also know, like, even if I may, be on the receiving end of an opposing view, or my brand may be on the receiving end of a highly opposed view of something, I think in this instance it's important that we, you address things like that head on. And I've been talking all season about, creating this space for us to have open dialogue about things that are often controversial and things that are often triggering, but in a respectful way, in a way that doesn't exist with shame. And so I want to emphasize that, like, I'm going to be covering different perspectives in this, obviously, and some of them I won't agree with, but, it's not about, regardless of where you lie on the scale, and what your viewpoint is, we all deserve to be respected, our viewpoints. And that's something that I'm always going to advocate for here. This is a necessary discussion. So, I'm going to go through this and try to provide as well-rounded perspectives as possible, all while, sharing my own. And I'm also going to make all of the, the videos that I watched, make them available to you so that you can watch, because there's no brainwashing here, not doing any of that. I want everybody who is taking this in to form their own opinions based off of what you see. And let's have like an open dialogue about it. Because I think this is, super crucial to moving things forward. So with that being said, let's dive even deeper into our definition. So for context, Boujee Boss Media is a mass media company that produces entertainment and educational content for high-performing women. And our mission statement is that we just strive to redefine luxury beyond materialism as a state of mind, and a state of being through premium entertainment and educational content, right? So, like simply that line about beyond materialism as a state of mind and a state of being, meaning beyond the superficial realm, right? As I stated earlier, beyond that realm, we are stating that off rip, we believe that, because some people believe that, luxury, that concept only exists in the material realm, which we don't agree with. We believe that, it's also a state of mind. For example, if a poverty mindset can exist, so can a wealthy mindset, so can an abundant mindset, growth mindset, luxurious mindset, all of that good stuff. And then also the full embodiment of that, as a state of being, your existence, right? Who you are as, and not just how you think or what you do. And so, just providing some more context there on where we stand with that and what we mean by that. And then of course our tagline, redefining luxury through disruptive storytelling, right? So, first things first, I feel like let's address part of the reason why I am, I'm so passionate about just the topic of luxury in general, is because I feel like, in terms of even questioning, like, why we should partake in it, that is only a discussion for Black people, Black women especially. Like, we're the only ones who have to have this argument of whether we should even partake in it. And I think that's the frustrating part about all of this, is that, in so many situations, this world, and so many across the world, not just in, in America, but like, it's been built on our backs. We've sacrificed so much, we've lost so much, and yet it still is like this state of like constantly having to, like, feeling obligated to constantly be in activism mode. I think it's something that I'm so exhausted by that. I'm so exhausted by, like, all of the obligations that are bestowed upon us that other groups don't even have to think twice about. There's so much that we encounter in this world that we can't control. But I deserve, like, we should have the luxury, no pun intended, of being able to indulge in things that bring us joy without constantly having to defend or like advocate on behalf of something else, or like be apologetic about it even, like that is something that really triggers me in a way that I feel like I want to be able to, do what some of my white female counterparts do without feeling like, I need to go like march somewhere. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm all for the advancement of our people. I'm all for advocating, but like being constantly in that mode is draining. It's a lot. And I mean, hell, to me, like getting a space to just exist is a luxury in my book, because you're constantly in a world, like when you're constantly in that headspace of always having to defend, always having to advocate, always having to, apologize, like all of these things, you never can truly just reside in pure joy and pure happiness and pure peace, because none of that stuff is rooted in any of those good things, right? And so what toll does that take on your mental? What toll does that take on your existence as a human being? And I think about even like, popular activists. I remember I just a couple months ago, I was looking at, I was watching the Nina Simone documentary. It was on Hulu. I think it's like called What Happened, Miss Simone or something. It came out like 7-8 years ago, I think. But I was watching it, and like for those familiar with Nina Simone, iconic singer, may she rest in peace. And she, got very involved in the civil rights movement, a few years after, her career really kicked off, and that completely shifted the direction of her career. Like it shifted everything, her personal life, all of it. And I remember specifically there was one part of it, and her daughter was like, a part of the documentary. She was featured in it, and there were also old clips of like interviews with Nina Simone, and she was just talking in one clip about the toll that it took to be, for the people in that way, to be in constant, activism mode, and the toll that takes. And I mean, I highly recommend watching it, not just for that, but just as a whole. I think, she's brilliant. Her legacy is incomparable, and I mean, it was just a really well done documentary. But and there's so many other stories that I've heard about there. There's so many books that I've even read, from when I was in college. I joined the NAACP myself when I was a sophomore in college, and like just thinking about things like that, other, causes that I've been a part of, like, because it is important. I'm not trying to say, like be on some coon shit or nothing like that, but it's training to constantly, and even thinking back to like when the Black Lives Matter movement had a big uproar, in 2020 when George Floyd was murdered, because he was, and just like all of the policing, like people couldn't share one happy moment without somebody being like, why are you not advocating? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? And I just remember feeling like, gosh, like how, like, we're dying literally and figuratively. We're drained. COVID's also going on. Like people are out of work. Like there was so much going on in the world, and it's like we're still expected to, carry the weight of everything. And it's just like people are tired. They're mourning. They're in so many different ways, right? And there were all of these people just policing, our own people policing each other. And I feel like obviously this is not as extreme case of that, because we're talking about lives here. But, that theme in and of itself of just like our, Black people in this situation, Black women trying to police other Black women for wanting to partake in joy without feeling the need to defend, without feeling the need to advocate, without feeling the need to apologize for it. And then, the whole conversation, I know in a few perspectives, we're just talking about, contributing to capitalism and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, listen, I mean, you can't exist in this world as an American and not contribute to capitalism in some way. It's literally like, this is what this country's built off on, and this is what we need to survive. So it's like, because this country was built on faulty, foundations and promises, that means that I'm not supposed to find joy in anything. That means I'm not supposed to indulge in anything. That means I'm supposed to suffer through everything. I think the truth of the matter is, I find that a lot of people in our culture have what I like to call a struggle kink. To where it's like, because we've been subjected to so much struggle, because it's been the norm, it's almost offensive when you don't choose to reside in that space constantly. And I feel like this is one prime example of that. And so that was a mini spiel that I went off of in that area. But there was also, while we're still on the physical topic of that, I kind of just touched on like the mental effects and all of that. But bringing it back to the physical, there was one video in particular that I watched by Naomi Cannibal, is her YouTube name. Like I said, all the videos are going to be below, and it was centered around the Telfar bags in particular, because obviously, like, they've just completely shot up in popularity the last couple years. Expounding on that video, I want to scroll and get my notes, because there was like a few call outs that really stuck out to me. And so one thing that, obviously the, people like in general, Black, like luxury in general, is usually known to be, and we're talking about from the like materialistic standpoint, very exclusive. Is associated with exclusivity and like unattainability, very, expensive, like monetarily for many. And so, in that regard, there were some statements that were made, that were referenced, that Telfar had made about the concept of luxury, that I think is interesting. And he said luxury, when it comes to materialistic items, should be about the material. And honestly, I feel like, I mean, he meant it in a literal sense, but I feel like that can be taken in any sense. It's not about the exclusivity of it. It's not about the price point, if there is one. It's about the material, the subject matter, the focal point of the luxury conversation itself. The material, whether that's like physical material, whether that's, your mindset, whether that's like your state of being, it's about the material. It's not about, the physical, just about the physical components, or like the generalizations that are associated with the term luxury. Like, obviously, like I said, exclusivity, and like expensiveness, those things are like highly associated with luxury, but they're not exclusive synonyms. They're two different things. And so I found that to be interesting, especially because, we're in a different time now where Black people are, they're reaching levels of status and wealth that, like, were previously more so focused around white people. And I think, once again, like back to that concept I was talking about earlier, with just like it before, I think a big reason why some people may struggle with embracing the concept of Black luxury is because, if you want to talk about it, like, even if it's not in the, like I said, even if it is something that's affordable and more inclusive, like the concept of luxury in general is triggering to some people because it used to be associated with other traumas. And I think that's what the root of it is. And so like some people I feel like have rejected the concept of it altogether because they associated with that. And here this is saying, you know what I mean? Listen, that's a valid trigger point to have because it is true, right? But, while some people want to still, try to throw that on us, it is no longer, exists. Like we're able to achieve more. I mean, we still have, are discriminated against and we still have certain battles. Yes, but it should, in the very existence of luxury itself shouldn't be a crime. And so I found that very, very interesting. Something else that Telfar said, exclusivity shouldn't be the defining factor of whether something is deemed as luxury or not. I mean, and I think that's absolutely right. Exclusivity is associated with luxury, but it's not, an interchangeable definition. And I think that is the key defining moment here to really tap into. The things are not interchangeable with each other. They, are often associated together, but they're not interchangeable. But people draw assumptions as if they are. And so I found that to be very, very interesting. I highly recommend watching the whole video. It, just like as a whole, it was very interesting about like their rise and all that other stuff too. But anywho, I found that to be very interesting, especially like when you think about it from a broad perspective. I feel like, I don't know, not just with this luxury conversation, but with a lot as a whole, I feel like people make judgments from a black and white standpoint, even though most of us reside in gray. Like even a lot of the perspectives I watch, like a lot of them took on very different stances, but then when they started going into their points and stuff, I found that there was a lot of overlap. And I feel like, and that's why it's like, of course, stand firm on what you believe in. I'm not saying to be flaky or to be wishy-washy, but like when you're casting such harsh judgments and critiquing others, be careful of like, for one, where you're coming from and like what you're doing to make sure there isn't any hypocrisy going on. But also like be like willing to be open and really like considerate of their perspective, because it may not be as different as you think it is. I do, obviously I agree with the whole point around like not going above your means, like if we're still talking about in the physical sense, like not living beyond your means and not demeaning other people and all this other stuff like that. And if your thing isn't bubble baths and designer bags and all of that stuff, like that's fine. But I'm just not here for like condemning other people if that is what they choose to do. Because I mean, hey, if they've got it, then they've earned that right. And like I said, I'm tired of, Black people being policed for doing things that are within their means that aren't hurting anyone, and being criticized for it. Everything doesn't have to be a big think piece. Every decision that you make, every thing that you indulge in doesn't have to have a big think piece moment around it. And I say that as I'm going on a big think piece. So how meta of me. But it's true. Everything doesn't have to be a big think piece. And I think that's ultimately like what I'm getting at here is, I understand, like I agree with a lot of the, conversations. There is a lot of, superficialness. There is a lot of fakeness. There are a lot of people living beyond their means. But, like for those that aren't, for those that are indulging, for one, if they have that right to do that. And two, that's not the only means of luxury. So really assess like how you're defining it. It's not just about exclusivity. It's not just about like the expensive materialistic items. It's also about investing. For somebody, luxury may be to them, like I said, even from the Boujee by today, talking about investing in therapy, investing in, like indulging in like some food that you like for some people you may not think that's a luxury, but for some people like sleep is a luxury. Being able to indulge in a food you don't get to indulge in often is a luxury. Like having time to like just chill and binge a show is a luxury. It's a privilege for some people, and you don't get to define and say that that isn't for someone just because that's not how you would define it. And so, yeah, I guess what the ultimate point is to just be open-minded and to the way that you're perceiving things and the way that other people are experiencing things, and don't be so quick to judge the way that somebody's living or their ethics, because I think that's a really harsh judgment to make, to judge someone's ethics and their morals just because they are indulging in something that you may not indulge in. Because I'm sure there's something that you may partake in that they wouldn't, and you wouldn't want to be judged for it either. And so, yeah, I mean, of course, like this, I tried to cover as much ground as I could. I mean, like I said, this is such a layered conversation. Maybe there will be a part 2 or something at some point, but I feel like this was a great like starting point to cover the basic grounds, and maybe one day we can like dive into each different sector at some point. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely felt like it was necessary for me to cover this topic because it is coming up a lot more. And so yeah, let's go ahead and move into the Boujee Bible. All right, so for this season's final Boujee Bible verse, what I'd say is that you define your own sense of luxury, and you don't have to be in constant advocacy mode when it comes to luxury. I mean, I'm not going to go down the spiel again. We already expounded on it in the meat of the episode. And so, yeah, that'd be what I would say to you. And ultimately, like, that's the mission that's the purpose of this episode. And honestly, I feel like that's also a big defining part of our brand as a whole at Boujee Boss Media. I know that, this brand will be triggering to some people in a negative way. I know this brand is not for everybody. I know the very existence of this brand may cause some eye rolls, or, people may not get it. People may be, misunderstand it, whether it's intentional or unintentional. But I do know that we are meant to exist for someone, because, even in the, the things and the messages that we've been sharing, even thus far, they've been impacting people and they've been changing lives. And so that lets me know as the visionary that, this brand is meant to be here and it's meant to have impact. And so I'm going to stand behind it. This is my brand. I'm going to stand behind her. You know what I'm saying? Or is it beside her? I don't know. Whatever. Beside, all of that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, let me know what your thoughts are. I really wanted to include like different perspectives here. And so, all of like a lot of the content, that I reference, I hope I called out everyone. I may not have called out everyone, but if I didn't, then like all of those links will be below for you guys to go and like do your own research. I encourage you. I never just want you to take what I say at face value, because we have nothing to hide over here in terms of our perspective on things. We're not trying to brainwash anyone. We're just simply trying to have open dialogue about things in an effort to like move the needle forward, right? And to really grow. So I encourage you to watch these videos and like get, see their perspectives, see, if there's areas where you agree or disagree with me. And I would love to have a respectful dialogue about that. I think I just want to emphasize, like, as we wrap this season, there have been a lot of topics throughout the season that have been controversial, that trigger a lot of people. I know a lot of them triggered me, pretty much all of them, which is why I talked about them. But the point of like approaching it, I tried my best to approach every single topic in, a respectful way. Even if I was discussing something that I didn't agree with, I tried to do as much research as possible to really try to understand different perspectives that were, not the same as mine. And my goal in doing that was to really like create a space where we could come to disagree without counseling, without that. My accent made it sound like counseling. I meant like canceling, like cancel culture and all that. Like I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of like people not being able to disagree in peace anymore. And so I really want to bring back the true essence of being able to, converse and debate and to have differing opinions, but still in a way that's open-minded, still in a way that's respectful. And so I hope that like we did a good job of like bringing forth different perspectives in a respectful way, and like even maybe inspiring, you to like even think about things differently and open your mind to new perspectives. So this has been really great. I'm super excited. Shout out to the Boujee Bop of the week, the final Boujee Bop of the week. It is called Luxury. Technically, like intro in parentheses is by someone I love, Alex Isley. I mean, of course, it was like the perfect song. Literally, Jasmine played it for me, and I was like, oh, that's it. Like, and I didn't even know the song was called Luxury. And then I saw that I think the whole album that song is from is called Luxury, which is so crazy. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect way to end off the season. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Everybody who stuck with me while I was out and like figuring this shit out and prepping, and just, I'm so, so, so thankful. So, I guess like, without further ado, we gotta sign off here. As always, stay bougie, stay bossed up, and I will catch you for season 5 in June.